So this past week, the Supreme Court ruled that the affirmative action guidelines at Harvard and the University of North Carolina were unconstitutional. It made me think about my own admission into college in 1971 and the admission of my daughter, my middle daughter, Holly, into college, which was 1995, something like that, because she went to the University of North Carolina. And I don't know about people that have a long legacy of families going to college, but I didn't have that long legacy about going to college in my family. My choice to go to the University of Florida was based on Steve Spurrier kicking a field goal to beat Auburn. And I was outside playing on the basketball courts when I was 13 years old, and I said, that's where I want to go to school. Because I made that kind of choice, I don't think I really understood the choices that I had. I was pretty ignorant of all the choices, and because my parents had not gone to college, I don't think they weren't someone that was going to say, let's hop in the car and go visit 2 or 3 and see where you want to go. But because I made the choice I made, I wanted my daughter Holly and her sister Robin before her, and the sister that followed, Nellie, to make informed choices. So I think what we want as parents may be something like we want them to go where it's the best fit for them socially and academically. Because if there's that right kind of combination, then they somehow live this balanced life where they put the appropriate amount of time into studying and doing the serious things and the appropriate amount of time into socializing and having friends and things like that. But I don't think we ever really know what that is for our children. Sometimes surprising things happen and you get a good match that you at first may have thought was a very poor match. But my decision and their decision were based on opportunity and choice. Now, I think that some of the justices saw the affirmative action plans on the basis of opportunity and choice. I don't know if the affirmative action plans at Harvard and the University of North Carolina were poorly written, whether there was a bad application of policies. Who knows, maybe the laws could be written in a better way to understand some of those things. But that idea, I think, was a little bit flawed because I don't think that they were actually trying to correct something with affirmative action that had to do with opportunity and choice. That may sound strange at first, but I'm asking you to kind of hang with me a little bit because we're actually going to wind our way back to that reading from Matthew. We have such an idealistic view of law and governance. When we think of the Declaration of Independence, we have all human beings created equal. We have a constitution that gives us rights and privileges that are fairly unusual for their time. We have First Amendment rights of speech and expression and equal opportunity. All of those things, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, our legal system and our governance are functioning as if we all have the same opportunity and choice. We don't want to deny opportunity to someone if they have a desire to pursue that life and liberty and happiness. However, not all of us have the same opportunity and choice. What we have is proof of something else that exists, because when the Supreme Court made their decision, they took away affirmative action, but they left in place legacy admissions. 74 out of the top 100 public universities in the United States use legacy admissions as a criteria for admission. Only 24 don't. That's out of the top 100. Out of the 75 top private liberal arts colleges in the United States, 71 out of those 75 use legacy as an admission policy. Those legacy admissions are not based on merit. So what we really have is a different kind of a problem, because we live in a world where your zip code might have more influence on your life expectancy than any other factor. We live in a world where access to the internet affects your ability to make progress in school. We live in a world where malnutrition, access to utilities, pollution, the absence of a father or a mother in the home, access to public transportation and health insurance. If all of those things happen to fall the wrong way, or any one of those things happens to fall the wrong way, it denies major segments of our population the two things that were a factor in my choices and my daughter's choices: opportunity and choice. If those things don't happen, you don't have opportunity and choice. So what we have, or what I see as a problem with the Supreme Court ruling, is that it was made in the context of opportunity and choice, when the real problems were power and marginalization. Because when you leave a legacy admission policy in place, who does that benefit? It benefits those who've already been educated and who already sit in positions of power. The reading from Matthew today sheds an interesting light on this question. So I'm going to read it again, because I'm guessing that, like a lot of readings in the Bible, we might only be thinking about one side of what was said. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes the prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. We often say here at Ladera Community Church that we have, or want to give, an extravagant welcome to those that come to us. We get the reward wrong if we believe that we are only giving something to those that come. What we're missing is what Jesus talks about. He's very clear that the whoever is welcoming is going to receive a reward. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and in the end receives the reward. Now, I know that we have much to give, but it's very unbalanced to forget that those who come have much to give as well. There's a balance to the giving that occurs when it comes from both directions. And I think that this is what is at the heart of an extravagant welcome. The rewards are kind of distributed both upstream and downstream. But that extravagant welcome has other facets that I think are worth looking at individually too, because I'm very sure that the University of North Carolina and Harvard are better institutions today because of affirmative action than they would have been without it, because of the contributions of those people that came. part of their reward was welcoming that group of people into their context, into their midst. So, when we give an extravagant welcome, there's the invitation. So who do we invite? Well, obviously, everybody's welcome. It's radically inclusive. It reaches out with the invitation in multiple ways to make sure that we go all the way out to the margins. The burden of this is not on those on the margins having a desire to come into the center of where we exist or where we live and function. The burden of it is on us to reach out. And that is why when we give the welcome, it changes the dynamic, understanding that we receive something as well. Now, just like a lot of invitations in the world, there's a lot of people out there that come that weren't invited. But we keep the doors open because our welcome, if it's a really good welcome, is actually reached farther than we might understand. It might go to a place and create an opportunity that we don't know exists. So there's that part of an extravagant welcome. Is it what we give to them when they come that makes the welcome extravagant? Well, we hope to give opportunity and choice, right? In other words, that's a little bit what the schools are saying. We want to give opportunity and choice. But we also, in an extravagant welcome, give people a seat at the table where decisions are made. We give them power. We give them an opportunity to participate, not just an opportunity to come. Now, here's the big question that bothers everybody, whether it's immigration policy, college admissions policy, or anything else. It might come at the expense of people who are already here. How many times have you heard that a country that doesn't take care of its own can't take care of more people coming? That's a big problem. But I think it's also a big mistake. Because if you don't recognize the needs of a few, whatever those few are, pretty soon you're going to lose the ability to recognize the needs of the whole. And that's what it means to have an extravagant welcome, to be able to say that, well, no matter how limited we are, no matter how limited it is what we have enough still to give. It's like coming to dinner at someone's house and they've already prepared the dinner, and so your friend that you brought with you that doesn't have any food at home, what are you going to do? Well, I can't have my portion, so you go home. Or they go home to nothing. In other words, we have enough. We may not have everything we think we need all the time, but it's been proven over and over and over again that we have enough to be able to continue to give, even when it seems like we aren't taking care of ourselves or our own. Is part of our extravagant welcome recognizing their need? No, we're not the judge. If someone comes and asks, how can we judge their need? How can we judge what it's like to live in a home without a reading light at night and still have to prepare for a lesson the next day in school? Do we know what that's like? Yet that condition exists in our country today. Do we know what it's like to not have a heater functioning in our home and knowing what it's like to have to do homework and write or function with the focus that academics demand. I don't have that experience. So if someone comes to me and asks for something out of their need, I can't judge that. We can't judge that. Is an extravagant welcoming those who are different from us. Yes, and yes, and yes. In other words, to those who are different in any way, we are committing to be in a relationship that is stable, responsive, and fully present for them. We're not going to disappear when things get hard. So that extravagant welcome extends beyond the invitation. It extends beyond having a policy. It extends beyond just the idea of the invitation. When I was preparing my sermon, I read, one of my favorite writers is Flannery O'Connor, and I read this little blurb that she was talking to a person that was interviewing her, and she complained to the interviewer that some of the people that reviewed her stories called them horror stories. And the reviewer said, well, why does that bother you? She says, well, it's not that they call them horror stories, it's just that they weren't understanding the right horror. The horror that we continuously fail to understand in our governance is how power is exercised, how privilege works, and we who have power frequently blame others for circumstances that we have created. That is a horror that exists at the other end of opportunity and choice. We live in a world where vast groups of people have been marginalized. And we've learned so many times that continuously trying to marginalize people and exclude them doesn't work. Yet we fall into the same pattern over and over. And it's because we get so idealistic. And this is something that we do as a church here too. We're so idealistic. We're so focused on the opportunity, the choice, the love, those ideals that are so high and elevated that we forget that down on the ground, there's a lot of politics, a lot of marginalization, a lot of exclusion, and a lot of separation. The process of inclusion, especially bringing more people to the table where we give them a chance to participate in the power, is always going to be messy. But you know, that's what love is like. Love is always messy. Love is always messy because how do you not love once you've loved someone and become really intimate with them, learned what it means to be in relationship with them, and then when another person comes along that you love, how do you separate yourselves from them? How do you marginalize someone that you've learned to love? And I think that's at the heart of that extravagant welcome. It's that you know, just like Jesus said, that whoever welcomes is receiving a blessing. We just don't think of it that way. We think we're giving. We think that we're the one providing the opportunity, yet over and over we see that it's a two-way street. Inclusivity welcomes everyone. Our spirituality and our values are the foundation of that kind of welcome. And then I think if we can get on to that kind of work, where we understand the true horrors that exist, then we can really provide opportunity and choice. Amen.